Hello, good evening, and welcome to NewsNight. I'm Nnachi, and today's conversation you will love, because every Nigerian, and indeed every human being, loves to hear about energy and the economy. But again, let's just step back a bit and hear from you from our last conversations, your feedback, and we'll be back.
Result-based initiative for impact delivery. Good effort. More publicity should be given to Nigerians in order for interested individuals or communities to key into the initiatives of the REA. Solar is something the government should invest more in, since we already have the abundance of sunlight in Africa. My village, Umolo Olomu, in Delta State, has not seen light for the past 20 years. How possible is it going to be? Let it not be mere talk.
Whenever you hear the word power supply, or phrase as the case may be, there's something it generates in everyone who has lived in Nigeria for up to a year. Some is nostalgia, some is hope, and for some it's anger. When you hear the word economy, especially in today's government, it's not laughter you will see or a smile. It's that expression of what next? Then you, in some other quarters, you see that expression of hope. Is there something new? Many ask the question, how is it possible to understand the Nigerian economy, whether energy or infrastructure? Is there a way to understand it? Is there a mystery to all that is about the Nigerian economy that at one time was about 500 million or is it $1 billion economy? Is there a way to understand the economy? Some have said it's an arithmetic you cannot solve, not in the nearest possible time. Yet others have said it takes one man to solve this whole equation. NewsNight sat down for a conversation with one who started out as an electrical engineer and then on to a financial economist or a petroleum economist, as the case may be. We sat down for a conversation with Dr. Nnachi. Dr. Nnachi, thank you for speaking with us on NewsNight.
Thank you for having me.
You are what some would describe as a rare breed. I mean, they'll say he understands, he talks politics, he talks economy, he talks energy. In a few seconds, if you can, just give us a narrow, or as much as compress it in 30 seconds. Who is Dr. Nnachi?
You are correct in your analogy, because I wear different phases of life, and which is as a result of my academic background. Having did my first master's in electrical and my second master's in energy economics and my first PhD in telecom management and my second PhD in petroleum economics. Okay. So these are two areas of the economy that are very interesting, telecoms and petroleum.
Yeah.
And you come to cap it up with spending some time and courses in finance, because I did a course in London School of Economics, did a course in Columbia, did a course in Harvard, and put it together and get certified as a financial analyst. So what took me to finance is, if you can do the telecom business, you can do the energy business, but you have to arrange finance to fund them. So you have to go learn how to crush those numbers and how to raise the funds for your businesses. So in all, I put myself as infrastructure economics because I deal with all the economic infrastructures that you can think about. So
Okay.
That is
infrastructure economics. Okay. But now, in Nigeria, so to speak, it appears one of the biggest challenges in the country is understanding or unraveling the quagmire called the Nigerian economy. You look at the financial side of it. Even though some will say everything boils down to the financials, but you look at the energy side of it. Nigeria's been battling insufficient power supply for so long. Now you talk at the petroleum side of it. Nigeria's blessed with crude oil, blessed with gas, but yet it is one of the darkest parts of the country. I think it's even darker than the politics of Nigeria. So how would you describe it? These are the words that people use, but from your own perspective.
What you just said is an interesting part to look at a nation. But in general, what I think is our major issue is not having an implementable infrastructure master plan. Coincidentally, I was one of those that did the infrastructure master plan of the country that was concluded in 2015 under national planning. And as of 2015, the infrastructure deficit was put at over $30 trillion. And that was the infrastructure deficit. And it was expected to be funded from different sectors, private sectors and public sector. But the real problem is not developing a master plan that will roll from government to government, a master plan that we can tie with laws that any government that comes must continue with it. It's not a case Mr. A comes, he will prefer to do this, he will prefer to do that. And they just invoke projects that they may not finish it. And because it doesn't fit into a master plan, the other government will not continue with it, will set it aside and begin to think of something else. So that has been a concern. That happens in the power sector. That's why we're not seeing the incremental effects of it. It's also happened in the oil and gas. We're not seeing our reserve being increased and all that. So it is a plan cast where you say in every year we're going to be adding X number of barrels of crude from our more discovery, and in every year we're going to be adding this number of megawatts to it, and you will see the whole thing evolve naturally and grow. But
isn't that what we keep hearing? I mean, during the campaign, you hear them tell you in 2 years, in 1 year, you have 10,000 megawatts. We've been around the 4,000, 6,000 megawatts forever, but we keep hearing we'll have 10,000 megawatts. And all our budgeting process, all our budgets are tied to an oil benchmark with a production capacity of 1-point-something million barrels per day or 2 million barrels per day. But since during the agitations in the Niger Delta, we lost that to 900 barrels per day. Amnesty came in and it rose. It rose to a certain point. I think we're almost getting to 2 million barrels per day thanks to the OPEC cap. OPEC cap is still there, but we're not even meeting the mark we used for our budgeting process. So is it a question of it's just the rhetorics, or nobody is sitting down to hold each other?
Let me take you down to the Chinese system of governance. Irrespective of who emerges as the next president of China, China has 100 years master plan, 50 years master plan, 25 years, 10 years, and 5 years. This is the plan they do. And they begin to chase this. So it doesn't matter who comes in. You must continue with this plan. But what we are having is people comes in and there's a change. I'll give you a typical example. Like the drop we have in crude production is not as a case of amnesty and the rest. We came out of that. Jonathan came out of it and we were hitting 2.2. So that could be looked at. Like the current government, when all of them were campaigning, someone like me was expecting, in the power sector, we have over 20,000 megawatt installed capacity of electricity. And our production capacity is about 5,000, there are about 5,000 to 6,000. And our willing capacity that our transmission line could carry is just about 6,000 to 7,000. So there are gaps known, institutional gap known. You have this. You have this. So What if I was the president and I was part of that president team is first, how do I bridge this gap? In today's power system, if you can take the installed capacity to the homes of people, you have achieved so much. Nobody will complain about it. You don't even need to build a new power plant. But what is important is, even as you take this to the people's home, there should also be a plan that in every year we are adding 2,000 megawatt yearly, and the plan for implementation of it is continuous. It doesn't just start and end. So any president that comes will now take hold of that and continue to deal with it. So we have continuous one. The same thing is applicable to our crude oil production. If we have focused on the real deal, that we're increasing our crude oil production, from when Buhari took over, even when Jonathan was able to come out of it from the region unrest, we could have continued by that.
From your words, no plan to add on, or I rather use the word unwillingness to plan for a bigger production capacity.
Okay, if you take NNPC as a corporation, you will expect, whether being a government agency or being a private company, as the case may be, one will expect the federal government, through the presidency, should be giving NNPC a matching order, a target. Okay, in the first 2 years, this is the target. Go and run out your business model to meet up that target. But when they are not meeting that target, you should be able to take the stick. When they are meeting the target and exceeding it, you should be able to bring the carrot for them. But now, there's no such check. And what now happens is, when the president comes and the president is greedy, and the only place where he can dip his hand and get rotten things done is that same pot. Once his hand inside it, the people at the NNPC will smile, we've gotten him again, like the others.
Now you've moved NNPC to a private company, howbeit owned by government. Then you expect things to change, but the JVs are still there. And then there's that other part where they now begin to use crude for trade. They use crude for backing of loans and all of that.
Yeah.
How would anyone make a profit from such a structure?
What you have,
that's what I'm saying.
What you have is not new. Is a transaction dynamics that could come to play. But what is important is accountability of the transaction. Let me get you right, so that you will understand this. When you do a JV, let's say you do a joint venture or you do a production sharing. In production sharing, just as the name applies, we take up a well, an oil block, and we say it is A and B and C that owns it. You know what? Because the oil belongs to me, I have no capacity to produce. You produce. When you produce, you take the cost of production. Then whatever is left, we share. First, you deduct the cost of production. Now, let me first tell you the first area of crime. Criminality, clear. Go and compare the per barrel cost of production of Nigeria crude and per barrel cost of production of any crude in the world. The Nigerian crude production is about 3 or 4 times higher in cost. Why? Because there's fraud going on there. Who determined that this is the actual cost? It's the people there. They'll tell you, oh, we spend this amount, we do. No. Can we benchmark your per barrel production based on international best standard? If it is produced at $12 in Gulf of Mexico, it should be the same $12 in Nigeria. If you produce at the same, because the technology is the same. Meanwhile, you're producing at shallow waters, though. Most of them are operating on shallow waters. So these are realities that need to be checked. Can we compare? I can't give you the exact number, but I can tell you comfortably it is times 3 or times 4. And I bet anybody to put a number on the table if it's not that. So that is first element of crime. Now the second element of crime is, how do we measure the production capacity from the wellhead? You now realize the accountability is low, because the man that you've given that production right can decide to produce 100,000 and report he's producing 50,000. And because you have a proven reserve that you think, he will come back and report based on geological analysis that there's a depletion in the well, unaccounted depletion from air vacuum. And these are scientific justification. You will not get to verify that. So you have given up this right to them. And when you give up this right, the first thing I will ask, if we want to really manage our crude oil very well, first and foremost, most of the JV we have are shallow waters. Few are the deep waters. In the deep and ultra deep, can we take up the productions ourselves? That's where we have NNPDC in Benin.
Yeah.
So why still giving out? Are we saying in 50 years of crude oil production, we've not trained engineers enough that could handle that? Or even if we've not trained, can't you hire people to do that all over the world? There are Nigerians working in Netherlands, working in all parts of the world. So let's also hire people all part of the world and implement technology from the wellhead where we can give accountability. That point, we escape two things. You escape the cost of production to be known and exact. You also escape the production capacity to be known and exact. And the transparency comes in. From that, we'll begin to have
how would we have transparency where, unlike in some other climes, it's individuals that are given oil wells in Nigeria instead of governments? I mean, what's wrong with giving the oil wells to the government, state governments, local governments to own, and then?
No, it is not a case individuals that are giving oil well. I don't want to ascribe to that though, because it's a business transaction. If you fail to go and buy tomato and open a tomato shop, and I choose to buy one and open a tomato shop, you can't say, oh, it's individuals that are giving tomato shop. No. The people that owns the oil wells, they bidded for it. They pass through a process. Yes, there may be political interference and favoritism. That is okay. But first and foremost, they indicated interest. They made a move that you didn't do, should not make it. But at the same time, there should be some concessions. This is where because I participated a little bit in the PIA when it was CPIB and other. There was something I was asking them to do, which at the end of the day, they trade away. If in a local government, you have about 10 oil wells or 10 oil blocks there, that local government should be able to own one as a concession given to them. And they will go and look for who will produce for them. And this is their own asset for their own community development. Not you give the 10 out, you say those 10 to contribute 1 naira to them. No. There should be another model that we will need to test. So that model could work and other. Some states have tried to acquire oil blocks. I know Bayelsa Oil Company has one. So there are some states that have done well in that, even owning gas company. But we need to clean up that production. If you take the oil heads that exist, there are satellite technology you could put that will read the production real time. That is what Saudi is using. That is what UAE is using. There are countries that are using it. It's a satellite base with a sensor that will be attached. It will read it and report it to a room, a dashboard, and you know which oil well is producing this volume, that volume, that volume. At the end, accountability. But the government, if they look at the losses involved, they can afford to make the investment. It may cost them tens of millions of dollars, $100 million to do that investment. But there are companies that would do that and you get paid over time. If there are companies you could call, I'll say, okay, if this is what you're producing, if I discover what they are giving you is less than this, I take 10% of the difference. There are companies that will come and do it for you. In Nigeria, free. It's okay. Give me 50 oil heads that you're producing. Tell me the quantity you're producing there. But I'm well convinced that is far less than. Allow me to implement the technology there. And if I prove that it is more, whatever the difference, 10% belong to me. So don't invest.
Okay, but let's leave oil, for instance. Let's move on to other sides. Because Nigeria is one very wealthy country. Blessed in solid minerals, apart from the crude oil and all of that. Mm-hmm. Blessed in gas. Blessed in rich agricultural soils. Anything grows in Nigeria. Just look at the difference. How is it then that we're so stuck on this when we have all of this? I mean, I was watching a documentary produced in 1959. Nigeria was exporting groundnuts to the United Kingdom. Nigeria had a factory where shoes were made from local plastics in Kano. Shoes were made from local plastic hides and skin. And the extracts were exported. The waste was exported to the United Kingdom. Groundnut you extract the oil, and the cake is exported for animal feed. All of those industries.
What I think happened to Nigeria is we began to have lazy leaders. Leaders that, they are individuals. They don't want to enter the kitchen to cook a food. They rather look for mama put or look for restaurants to eat. Those are okay. They're individuals like that. The pain of going to market to buy the ingredients, sit down and go to the kitchen and cook and get ready to eat. They don't want to do that. This is the kind of leaders we've been having of recent time. They don't want to create other areas. You see that, we are diversifying the economy. We are turning hands in the lips. The action plan never shows that. And the honest thing, you see, they create that and it becomes another gateway of siphoning money and nothing will happen at the end of the day. How long ago, 2 years plus, now that Ukraine entered into war, do you realize how it affected the wheat market? It's just one country. What is the size of Ukraine? What is the wheat production size of Ukraine? The entire Niger state can give us that volume of wheat. Why are we not doing that? Because the government is not interested about it. The economic revival must be intentional. It must be intentional.
But is that workable when you have a leadership or people in leadership who appear to be very interested in wearing those foreign garments? I mean, bringing in the foreign chairs and all of that. Do you think that can work?
Yes, because you are playing it by substitution. You're not saying for them to just stop. When they begin to see, I can buy this here, I can get this here, they'll begin to shift. They begin to shift. Let me tell you the kind of shift to get first. They only wait when they travel. They no longer sit here and start to order it. Those, okay, we can get it. See, there are people today in this country. There are over 5 million Nigerians in this country, including the boxers and singlet they wear, they buy it from abroad. They don't even go to the Nigerian market to buy it. So there are little things we have to take off. Whether you like it or not, when you do total summation of this cost implication, it's very high. And it eats into our foreign. Let nobody deceive you of this. I once did a competition. They once did it. And I showed it clearly. I'll look for those data and bring to you. Now, the data indicated in every day, as of then, I'm not sure what it is now, we had about 10 planes that leave Nigeria for different parts of the world. And these are planes that takes up to 300, 500 and above. I'll say, let's do the minimum number, 300. And if you do a simple statistics that inside that plane, the minimum foreign currency in anybody's pocket is $5,000. It could be above. Let's do 5,000. And you multiply by that 300. And times it by 10 planes. And times it by 30 days of the month. You know the dollar demand that goes out. Don't think it's this only PMS that consume. Just multiply it. 5,000 times 30. It will give you the number it's going to give you. Times it by 30 days. You'll be surprised. And then times it by 10 planes leaving every day. British Airways will leave, Turkish Airways will leave, Qatar will leave. Qatar does 3 planes in Nigeria every day.
When NewsNight returns, we ask him the question of infrastructure. What would it take to get to that place where the Nigerian economy is stable and moving on a path towards fruition? Dr. Nnachi, honestly, thank you. This conversation is really interesting. Before we went on that break, we were talking about all the things we have, the different gifts that the Creator has given Nigeria and how we've, in quote, misused them. We ended on the note of how much leaves Nigeria on a daily basis in terms of like flights. I haven't done those numbers yet. I'm going to attempt to
5,000 times.
Hold on, I'm
times 300.
I had to read 5,000 times 300. That's first of all in itself. That's 500,000 times 3. That's 1.5. $1.5 million
times 10 plane.
Times 10. That gives us about $150 million.
Times 30 days of the month.
Times 30 days. Well, I'll let our viewers do the rest of the month.
You see how small it is, though? It's just from 5,000. And it's realistic numbers. There are people with 10, 15. Forget the law says you cannot travel with 10,000, you can more than 10,000. People go with 20, 30, 40. So, we just do it with the minimum, 5,000. And you see the number it's giving you. Very surprising indeed.
But this points to a question of leadership.
And the funniest part you need to think about, this 5,000 is spent on lifestyle. It's not spent on anything. It's spent on lifestyle. Either they are buying one bag or one shoe or one thing and hotel they stay, it's spent on lifestyle. It's not going to come as an investment back into the country.
Question of leadership. Now, some will say the biggest challenge of Nigeria is the politicians. But I don't want us to look at the politicians. Let's start with the individuals, the individual Nigerians and leadership. How can that help in managing, in understanding the Nigerian economy? I mean, an individual Nigerian citizen has $500 or $5,000 is thinking, there's this show I saw online, there's this phone I saw, there's this and that. So the Nigerian individual as a leader, how would that work?
I've been privileged to understudy this country very well and done my research about behavioral patterns of Nigerians. I will give it to us. We are good followers. A typical Nigerian is a good follower. And that is something you can't take away from them. So, if you come with good character, they will follow you. If you come with bad character, they will follow you. And let me depict it with few leadership. If you remember during Tunde Idiagbo and Buhari as military officers, how was the country? Nobody dared drop people on the street, though. That's good followership. Because what the leader was inciting that discipline. That is the same way if you come in with bad character, they will copy. The greatest thing you need to know about this country is, how will I put it? If it's my late father, he used to describe it that in this country, that everybody's hand is in somebody else's pocket. That the president's hand is in the national treasury hand, the minister's hand is in the president's pocket, the governor's hand is in the president's pocket, the commissioner's hand is in the governor's pocket. There is a chain. There's somewhere that everybody is dripping. Your cook in your house is in your pocket, your driver. So, what am I trying to say in essence is, we only need one person to change Nigeria. The president. Once you get one person with a good character who doesn't want to get involved in all the corrupt practice, the entitlement of the president is enough, though. It's clearly enough for anyone that wants to. Even for the governors is enough. So, for state level, a good governor who is satisfied with his entitlement. Just think, there's no state today that doesn't get up to 400 million naira as security votes. So if you multiply it in a year, you're looking at about 4.8 billion. So if that man just say, you know what, I don't want to get involved in any corrupt act, let me just take this 4.8 billion as my personal money, there will be peace. And he will become a saint.
But let's go back to the local government. Because the local government in itself has an economy. I mean, by the constitution, the local government is supposed to, all the taxes from the markets, the TV license, where there is one, of course, we don't do TV license in Nigeria, bicycle license, all those small licenses. In the market, the levies in the market are collected at the local government level. So the local government in itself is generating income. But accountability. Accountability, and the local government is supposed to be closer to the people. Can the people hold that local government accountable?
No. You know, we are quick to say the local government generates income.
For itself?
We are quick to say it.
Okay.
But let's be realistic. I like being very realistic in such analysis when I'm comparing data. Out of the 774 local governments, the ones that generate such revenue are not all 250. Remember, we still have local government in their rural areas, though. They constitute the majority.
Sorry. In the rural areas, I call specific things markets. And they collect levies.
There's market in those local governments. Yeah. I'm not saying there's no market, but the economy of that market is so localized that even you are the local government chairman, you cannot send a task force to go there. It's not that it's not your right. It's your right too. It's your constitutional right, something you can do. But where the people you see there are already impoverished, they don't come a regular market, it's 4 days market. And when they come, there's only food stuff they want to sell and this, that. Most other people has their kiosks left and right there. The locality alone, yes, there are urban local governments and there are still rural local governments. And the rural local governments are more. We should not use the local government we have in River State, not even all River State, because you go to the water areas, it's still desolate.
But the question I'm asking is not necessarily about the IGR as much as about holding the local government chairman accountable. Can the people in the rural areas hold that local government chairman accountable?
Yes.
For the revenue he gets from the federation account, to the point they can say, okay, now we can go up and say we are holding the governor accountable.
See, my take of it, I participate actively in the political activities of my locality and of various states that I'm involved with. And I'll tell you, first and foremost, how do we get this local government chairman? These are people that are handpicked. In some states, it is how violent you are make you a local government chairman. In some states, the more you can shoot gun, the more you can go to the opponent's house and scatter and break their bottles and do all those things. Or he qualify you, he can defend that local government for me. He's a strong man. He has boys. He can hold the local government. That qualifies you to be the next local government chairman. In that status, what do you expect that person to do? The only state as of today that when I look at the people that sit at the local government is Abia State. If you see the caliber of men that are local government chairmen in Abia, you respect them. These are men that they have achieved everything in life they want to achieve. So they are not hungry for anything. But when you take all these, pardon my language, touts because they can fight for you, because they can shoot gun for you, they've not even lived in a good house. The first thing they do, the money that comes there, they want to build a house, they want to buy a car, they want to change a lifestyle. All these things consume the local government money, consume the money. And because you are taking part of the money as a governor and giving them the little that you give them, they don't do anything. And if you ask them, okay, we are using it to hold grant for you now. We are holding grant. You know, those things, they service those boys. So you say, okay. Is that what happens? Because you have taken part of it. It doesn't work. So we need to change that. And it has to start from one person. On the state level, it has to start from the governor coming clean. At the national level, it has to start from the president coming clean. It's just when people complain about Tinubu buying different cars and locating this and buying for national. If you didn't buy and say, I'm not buying for national, nobody will talk. The National Assembly won't cough. But you did, you must do for them. But if you did not, I say, okay, the economy is hard, we have to adjust. You guys ran for the election, you want to come office, you want to serve your people. I'm using the old car. No, nobody will talk. That's why I say it requires one person. The person at the top.
What you're saying, based on our conversation today around the Nigerian economy, it looks like you're implying that the Nigerian economy basically centers around one person.
Yes.
One person can turn around the Nigerian economy.
Definitely, one person.
One person can determine the amount of infrastructure we have. Determine the amount of investors we have.
One person. Mr. President, one person.
That's a whole lot of work for the president, if you ask.
It's not a work. It's very simple, though. The foremost job of any president or any MD of a company is the people you hire. That's your foremost job. You get it right, you don't have a problem. So your first ring of advisors should be like you. The next ring that will copy your advisors will be like your advisors. The next ring that will copy those ones, the ring will begin to, it's a ripple effect. But when you, that is a big stone dropping at the center of the water, cannot, then it goes. The ripple will come negative and it will continue to multiply. So that's why it's my principle, it's what I believe on. When you take no matter how good a successful a company is in this country, you take a wrong MD and drop in that company, it will go down. Naturally, human beings, we are not created to obey laws and principles. It is the rules and regulation that makes us obey. So that's why you see a Nigerian who will continually run over red lights, will just enter London and wait for red lights. Because he knows there's an implication for doing that.
So why is it that we can't do that here? Why can't we? Because we have to, that's one of the questions I was going to ask you. What's our problem in Nigeria? So much so that we think it's one person that can change. Meanwhile, there are laws on ground.
If the one person obey the laws, every other person will obey. If that one person violates it, every other person violates it. I need you to understand the principle I relates. It's very simple. Where one person obeys the law, the others will obey. Where he violates it. Okay, let me give you an example. And let me be honest and put it the way it is. Hunter Biden has been tried for over 1 year. Just a few days ago, he went to plead guilty. Can Sheyi Tinubu be tried in this country? Come on, let's be realistic. Can the children of Buhari be tried in this country? For all the mess that happened in the last administration. We call past government, even when Jonathan was, can his kids be tried? This is where I don't miss word about it. I'm not particular about any person. Sorry about it. I'm not particular about any person.
You don't need to apologize.
So, even if you go to a state, the governor of that state, it seems that he's above the law. It seems that his family is above the law. It seems like his children is above the law. His relatives are above the law. Until we stop that. So those enforcing the law will no longer be fearful to enforce it. You know why police in Abuja or anywhere cannot easily harass you? You know why? They don't know who you are. They will wait until they discover you are nobody. Please come down from the car. But when they see you, this is reality. So that's why when you see me insisting on that, if you take an organization and you are the MD of the organization, the resumption time is 8 o'clock and you come to work by 7:30, 7:45. The rest assured nobody will come late in that organization. But when you do it repeatedly, the culture now enters. It becomes a way of life. They know they have to be at work. Even when you don't come, they will do it. But where from the day they resume, they see that you come 10, they say, okay, we'll come before Oga. We'll come 9:45. And it becomes a pattern. So this is institutional issue. The leader in a state, the leader. And there's a ring around the state. Who is the first ring around the state? The commissioners. The ring around the president, the advisors and the ministers. It's a ring. If the president resume work today with his private car, no minister would dare buy a car. I can tell you that one for free. No permanent secretary will put a budget to buy a car. I'm using very simple things to illustrate this. They won't. You just be surprised at how they will all obey. There's no instruction from him. He did not say a word. He will not say anything. But you just see them, everybody swish. But where the minister resume office and there's a project to be procured, the cost of the project is 100 naira. He will come and tell you he has interest. Permanent secretary, make it 150. I have interest in that project. There's something I want to use it. The permanent secretary will say, yes, sir. He will go and do it. He will do it to obediently obeying. But just be rest assured, he will do that for 10 other jobs. And the directors will do it for another 10 other jobs. It multiplies. It becomes a culture. Just as corruption and bribery has become a culture in Nigeria. If you're not giving, you're not taking, you're abnormal. It must correct. We must change it. And it starts from the man at the top. So that's the Nigeria way to see. That's the Nigeria I dream of.
You know, that Nigeria asking for, some will say, is impossible to have. It will be not impossible. It will be difficult to get that Nigeria. But as you said, it takes one man to make a difference. Now, we are in a space right now. We're not talking politics. Yeah. The season of politics is gone.
And it's coming.
But it's coming again after a couple of years. But be that as it may, as we speak now, what can we do differently We have infrastructure, we have economic infrastructure that we've allowed to go comatose. Again, you said it will take one man. But there are people in those places. Can an individual, for instance, let's just say, for want of a better example, Infrastructure Concession Company of Nigeria, or I'm not sure what the name is. Let's just say I call the Infrastructure Concession Company of Nigeria to manage the nation's infrastructure, to look at them and say, okay, this one is viable to get an investor or to sell. Can I make a difference without having?
Yes, you can. I remember during we first developed the first blueprint during the later Adowa period, where I was part of the team. We created, it was called IDU, Infrastructure Development Unit, under presidency. And that Infrastructure Development Union, we're now pushed to national planning, which led to developing the infrastructure master plan for the country. But if that infrastructure development unit under presidency was allowed to work and do the right thing, the way you have coordinating minister for the economy, we should also have a coordinating minister for the infrastructure development, who will now hold the bucket of the infrastructure, economic infrastructure, and begin to integrate it. You just see one ministry will tell you they are doing this number of hospitals. You even go to one school, a university, it has a road construction. The university is in Akure, but it has a road construction under its budget in Maiduguri. You just be wondering, what are we, laughing stock? So there should be a coordinating unit for the infrastructure development. And that was why that unit was created. I don't know what has happened about it, what they're doing about it, and all that. We should go back to the drawing board and have a master plan on our infrastructure development, irrespective of who is the president. Priority should be paid to it, irrespective of who is the president. It's like the current government doing the Coastal Road. When I heard about it, I sat back and looked at that Coastal Road. It's a project that is nice, but the timing is not the timing. I'll give you a typical example. The cost of that project can build one of the major problems we have in our infrastructure network, both on our economic network, is port system. The cost of that Coastal Road can do 5 seaports in Nigeria. Deep seaports, 5 can do it. And that will end up the congestion in Lagos, in Apapa, in Tinkan, and all those areas. It will end it. So, and a seaport you do generates income, create employment, both when you're constructing it and when you're operating it. But a super highway you do, a coastal road you do, only generate employment when you're constructing. When you finish constructing, what happens? You're going to put a toll? What's the levy you're going to get? You can't compare it to the toll, to the revenue from the port. Port is an economic infrastructure.
But what if the port is not active? For instance, we have ports, for instance, right now, that are not exactly active as they should be. And so you're talking about building other ports. What would be the point in having a port when there are no ships coming in? No, the ships come in, but they are not.
No, you get it a little bit wrong. When we built our ports, none of our ports were built today. As of the time we built our port, the biggest drought you could get in the world to bring your ship in was about 8-9 meters. But now we're doing big ships that requires about 12-15 meters drought for them to move in their cargoes in. So what we have today is that our ports cannot take those big ships. That's why you begin to have daughter vessels that offload from them. But what we can do, or would have done if I was to advise Mr. President, is to do additional 4 different ports. And you know the funniest part of it is that the government may not even need to inject their money in doing it. They only put their money in the development cost. Then private operators will take up the concessioning for building that port and raise their capital from different sources, and the port will come to be. And these are things I expect state to even do. So there are more to be done.
Okay, you took the question I was going to ask off for me. So you have ships coming in for instance, from China, bringing goods, imported goods, which we are talking about cutting down.
Mm-hmm.
But the ships or the ship charges, because it's going to a place, maybe like, for want of a better example, the Cross River State Deep Sea Port, the Calabar Deep Sea Port, the Bakassi Deep Sea Port, because it's going there and he's not sure of coming back with anything, he charges double the cost of that thing. Incredible. The ship is bringing goods to deliver at the deep sea port, but there's no guarantee that it will have anything to take out of Nigeria. So the charges, because there's a possibility the ship might come back empty.
Yes.
So the charges are greater than if that ship was going to, say, a Lome, where there's a manufacturing industry that can.
Yeah, our export capacity
so shouldn't we be looking at that angle of doing things to ensure that the ports, even the ones we have now, are even viable?
You didn't hear me properly. I said the port we have, the drought of the ports, they are 8 meters, maximum 9. So most of these big ships cannot even anchor there. They anchor at a larger distance and begin to offload. Now, if you do a deep sea port, like the Calabar, the Bakassi deep sea port, or the Brum deep sea port, or the Agate deep sea ports, among all these 3 or 4 of them, which each of them will give you nothing less than 15 and 20. Bakassi will give you 22 meters drought, which will also make it a transshipment port, just like the one in Joburg is. It becomes a transshipment port. Port going to that country will come there to refuel, to do all this before they continue. So sometimes it is not one port that the ship will fully take off from. So he will offload the one he has here, because it's transshipment port you're bringing it to, and carry the little goods he gets here. Get to the next port, he will refill other goods and continue going. But the most important part of it is, remember how I got to the port? Comparing the economic importance of the coastal highway and the option I would have recommended, I would have opted for, because I know the job is going to create forever. Yeah. There's no port that you finish that will not give you 5,000 employment immediately. There's no port. So if I have used that fund to do 4 different ports, it is a guaranteed 20,000 direct employment, permanent, that will have career growth. And I will recover the money from it. And I may not even use the money to do it, because I will get the money from development institutions to fund it. So I would have saved a lot.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you. That's our conversation for today. I want to thank you for being a part of it. Let's hear from you. Send us a tweet, send us a comment. Our email addresses are right there, and our Twitter handles our X handles are right there on your screen. Let's hear from you. Till we bring another edition of the program, know this, you can go back and watch this program again. Just go to channelstv.com/podcast or youtube.com/channelsweb to get started. We will bring you a fresh conversation, same time. Again, don't go away.